Hello, everyone. It's Montez McCamish from itsmontez.com. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you've read the title, you already know who we're going to be talking to and kind of what we're going to be talking about. On this channel, you always know I bring the most influential people on. I'm trying to give you all some kind of motivation, some kind of different language, some kind of something to get you up and get you going. Of course, we are live. Well, the white Tupac's already tuning in. Man, I really appreciate you tuning in. Go. We are live. So if you want to chat to us, if you have any questions, you can do so by leaving them inside the comment box on the side. And if you ask questions, we'll be sure to ask them to Miss Susan Baroncini-Moe. I'm not going to take up any more time taking up all the time explaining what's going on and who she is and all this. I'm gonna let her do that herself right now. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, thank you. How are you? It's nice to talk to you and see your face.
Yeah, the same. I've been watching a lot of your videos, so it kind of feels like I've already talked to you a little bit. And then also that phone call, I did get that. And then I've already put the face and the picture together, if you will.
Well, it's nice to see your face then. I've watched a couple of your videos. I really like your style. I like the way that you interview, and I think it's a lot of fun. So I'm really glad to be here.
I'm really, really appreciative for you to come on and talk to us. Tell us a little bit about who you are and where you're from, and some of the and again we will touch on the book and kind of like introduce a little bit, and then we'll go dive hard into this interview.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, I'm Susan Baroncini-Moe. I am the CEO of Business in Blue Jeans and Baroncini-Moe Executive Coaching. So a lot of what I do is I spend most of my time working with executives and business owners, primarily women in the C-suite, and who are struggling with a variety of problems. So half of my business is executives and business owners who are kind of at that really high level. The other half of my business is people who are just starting out and really trying to grow a business, start a business, figure out, the how-to of a lot of that. And so that's why when I wrote my book, this book, when I wrote my book, I kind of geared it to people who really need the basics, need the how-to of starting a business, figuring out kind of the name and the brand and the packaging and the marketing, but also navigating some of those really challenging first pieces of the business, which can be even things like feeling like, who am I to start a business? I don't know if I know enough to start a business, all of those kind of mental blocks that I call brain junk, to kind of navigate through those. So I wrote the book, and what else can I possibly tell you? Oh yeah, I'm a host of a YouTube show called twoquestions.tv. And actually, I think that's how you found me. And in that show, I interview executives, entrepreneurs, and a lot of business authors. I think we've interviewed some of the same people. And so, yeah, it's mostly about that leadership piece and really helping people to understand all of the, sort of nuances and challenges around being a leader of a business. And so that's what that show's about. And then just for fun, I have a fun show that's Susan B TV, and that's me, my husband, and my puppy Gus, just doing fun stuff around town. I live in Indianapolis, not too far from you. I know you're in Kentucky, so not Tennessee,
yeah.
Kentucky.
Yeah, no, I'm in Kentucky. I'm
Kentucky, yeah.
Around Fort Knox, so it's pretty. I'm not very far away.
Not very far. We'll have to do another show where we're like, on location somewhere in between.
I think that would be awesome. Like, because again, like I think that YouTube is just a powerful platform, ladies and gentlemen, platform. To be able to connect. And so, like when I was watching twoquestions.tv, ladies and gentlemen, you can find the link in the description box. You go subscribe to the channel. It's a great channel, because when I came across it, I was very intrigued with all the people that were on the channel that you were talking to, from the authors to the business people, and it was all pretty cool, because like there was a certain space and that you were speaking on that was really moving to me. Just I guess because you really don't get to hear this kind of information of what really goes on inside of business owners' minds. So it just really was intriguing to me, and it just I gravitated towards it. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're into that stuff, make sure you go and check that twoquestions.tv. It's in the description box. Make sure you go check that out. Now, tell us a little bit about how you came up with twoquestions.tv.
Okay, so it's a funny thing. I have a dear friend named Phil Gerbyshak, who is, by the way, someone you should totally interview. He's amazing. And he is primarily in the sales space. He talks about LinkedIn and social media, and he's just a great guy all around. And I was on the phone with him. We're friends. We have monthly calls where we talk about the business and sort of, answer each other's questions and that kind of thing. And so I said something to Phil, like, I'd love to do another podcast, but I don't want to do, like, I don't have the energy you have, Montez. I don't. Okay. I was like, I've done a podcast where I asked questions for an hour and it was exhausting to me. And so I really didn't want to do that again because it was too much for me just to really do that the way I, would want to do it. And I think, you clearly spend a lot of time in preparation, and that's what it really takes to do a show like that, is a lot of preparation time. So we were just, talking, and I said, I would love to do another show, but I don't want to ask questions for an hour. I just want it to be brief. I want to, ask 2 questions. I was like, oh, twoquestions.tv. That's a good name for a show. And so I bought the domain that day, and I didn't do anything with it, right? Like, just nothing. And months went by, and I just was in the back of my mind, and I kept thinking about it. And finally, last fall, I thought, why am I not doing anything with this? That's so dumb. This show would be so much fun. And I have so many friends. I did in, I think it was 2013, I broke a world record for the longest uninterrupted live webcast. And I had 33 speakers and guests to help me do that. So I didn't do it myself, but there were a lot of people who helped me do that. And I thought, thank goodness, I know so many great people who have so much to say to people who are in business, who are executives and leaders. They would be phenomenal guests on this show. Why not just invite all of them to come and I'll ask them questions? And it sort of grew from there. And so I started out a little nervous because I hadn't been on the YouTube platform, and I had done some webinars, but I hadn't spent a lot of time doing YouTube. And so I was a little nervous about that, but I thought I'm just going to jump in, studied all the same guys I'm sure you've studied, and all the masters of YouTube. And my first interview on the show was with Clintus McGintis, who has a family vlog. And so I interviewed him about sort of being online, being in video, storytelling, vlogging, that kind of stuff. And I thought, what better way to start the show than with someone who knows what they're talking about? So, it's grown from there. And now I have, people who weren't on the Guinness World Record event with me, who are phenomenal authors and executives and entrepreneurs who are very inspiring, and people who certainly have taught me a lot and changed the way that I think about my business, but also that I hope, have taught viewers a lot as well. So that's where the show came from, was just a silly, wonderful conversation with my friend Phil, that then I thought, why am I not doing this? So
and again, ladies and gentlemen, that just goes back and say, sometimes, you can come up with something and it doesn't really, it may just be a fun, like just an idea, and then you can create that something into something magnificent. Now, as far as like you've touched and hit very good boundaries as far as you going and actually connecting with people wise. What did you do to start connecting with these individuals? What like maybe some people have resumes, some people have these things. Now, when you're first starting out, what kind of things did you do to be able to connect with such business heads?
Right. That's a really good question. When I first started out, so the advantage I had in starting twoquestions.tv is that years ago, before the Guinness World Record event, before that, I had a small podcast called Business in Blue Jeans Radio. And I think you can still find it on YouTube. And that was the hour-long thing that I did. And it's funny, my very first interview, you sent me a link to your Bob Berg interview. And it's funny because he was the very first person I asked, to let me interview him for my podcast. And I've told Bob this, and I have no problem sharing this strategy. This is probably something that will be useful for people. And I know you already know this strategy, but I emailed Bob a very sincere email and said, I really loved your book. Here are the reasons why. Here are the ways in which it changed me as a human being, the way it changed my business. And I would really like to spend an hour talking with you and going in between the lines of what was in your book and asking the things that occurred to me as I read the book, which I imagine occurred to other people. And so I just sent him this very nice email and said, would you let me talk to you for an hour for my podcast? It's brand new. You'd be my first interview. I've never, interviewed someone before. So I prepared hardcore for that interview, like no joke, for hours, and he was so, you've talked with Bob, so he's a very generous person, and he's very generous with his time and open and giving. And so he wrote back right away, said, absolutely, I'd love to. And we scheduled it, and that was my first interview. And so once I had done that interview, I felt like empowered that I could then name drop. And I could say, I've done this interview. Could I interview you, Larry Wingett, for example? Another great guy who's also very generous with his time and very generous with interviews. And they have become not just guys that I interview, but they both were on my event. Larry keynoted the Guinness event. They've both been very supportive of my career since then. And I consider them kind of informal mentors to me now. And they've also introduced me to a number of people who are just really phenomenal people. So the way that I went about it was to find one person who said yes. And I got lucky that the first person I asked said yes. But when you do things, you may have to ask 10 people and they may say no, but you just keep asking people and you will get a yes. Eventually you'll get a yes. And I think it goes without saying, like, when you don't ask, you already have a no because you didn't ask. And so if you ask, you at least know for sure. No. Okay, great. I'm moving on. and I will send out, probably 10 emails at a time when I'm doing something like that. And I'll send out 10 emails to 10 people. And maybe I get a yes out of that. Maybe I don't. Maybe I get 10 yeses. Maybe I get 10 no's. Maybe I get 5 yeses, 5 no's, 8 yeses, 2 no's. Who knows what I get, but at least I get something back. And sometimes I don't. Sometimes people don't write back for months. And then you get an email like, did I even ask that person? Who is that? And so it, the point is persistence pays off, right? So you just ask. And then once you have your first yes, you can parlay that into a bunch more yeses. And so I've used that time and time again over the years. I think the way that I got my yeses early on were name dropping and showing credibility, showing my website, my blog, where I've written for a long time and that I'm serious about what I do. And I take my work seriously and I have a really strong work ethic. And so when you can show that, and when you can show that you can bring something to the table for them. So it's not just, hey, I want to interview you, come talk to me, but hey, I really loved what you did. It means a lot to me. It helped me in these ways. I'd like to share your work. Here's the value piece. I'd like to share your work with other people who might watch my show. Now, my show's new now. I might not have anybody to watch it right away, but down the road, as I get more guests, as I get more viewers, as more people are watching me, I will have more viewers for your show as well. And I'll continue to actively promote your show over time, over the long haul. So to me, it's not just value today, but value in the long haul that really gets you the yeses and showing that you're serious about what you do. So that's kind of my strategy, is get the first yes and show you're serious and do good work. And then you continue to get yeses.
Powerful. Ladies and gentlemen, if you did not just catch all that, then you need to go back with your metal detector and pick those coins up off the floor, because that was a lot of dimes she dropped for you all, ladies and gentlemen. Again, I'm definitely going to edit that down, and we'll be using that piece. Now, I think it's awesome how you're speaking about, like, going out and doing, and then also, the variables of trying it out. There's lots of, you have tries. You have to cast some tries out there. Sometimes when you go to plant your seeds, they don't fall on soil, they'll fall on rocks. So you really got to go and press out there. It is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like, I just loved how you touched on all that. I want to go little bit back in time now. I want to go back to when you could really realize what you were. What kind of person were you in high school? Would you say, like in high school, what kind of person, individual?
Complicated?
Well, how was your grades? Pretty good grades?
I did. I have to say, well, I will say my grades were average. They're pretty high, above average. I think I got very lucky that I was born into a family that had some resources. And so fortunately, I got to go to a really good school, and I worked kind of hard at some things, although I would say that anyone who's grown up in a dysfunctional family knows that it can be very difficult to focus on your schoolwork. And so that is one thing. And I also have ADHD, so focus is a challenge for me anyway. So I would say, did I live up to my full potential in school? No. But I did all right. And so I went to college, and I have a master's degree, and then I didn't know what to do with my life. But I would say that, yeah, I did all right in school.
Out of college, you said you went to college, got your master's degree. It's not really so much a hands-on thing. College is more like book work. We're going to get a whole lot of knowledge in your brain. You know, you're gonna read a whole lot of stuff. Yeah. So when you came out of college and you're starting to do your physical thing, when you're starting to actually put hands on, what could you say that you really, I mean, more than just the knowledge, I'm sure, but what could you really say that you gained and you were able to take from college? Like for the students that may be thinking like, hey, you know what, I think college is and you know, this isn't anything against any of the people that do believe that college is you know, it's kind of, you don't really need to do it. You can make it in this world without it. I'm not trying to go against them or anything like that, but I do want to, you know, what did you take from college that you could at least say, I was able, if I wouldn't have gone, maybe I wouldn't have been able to apply this. You know what I mean? So like speaking to kids or these people that might be thinking, I can make it without college.
Okay. That's a wonderful question. And I love that you ask it. It's a complicated question. I know some of my colleagues are not big fans of college education, and I understand that. And it is certainly possible to make it without a college education. Fair enough. And I will say that I know many people who are among the smartest people that I've ever encountered in my life who don't have college degrees and are completely self-educated. So I think that knowledge is out there. Knowledge is free. The library is a wonderful, magical place. So It's not as if college and knowledge are equivalent, right? You don't just go to college to learn exactly what you said. But for me, going to college, getting a bachelor's degree in particular, helped me to develop who I was as a human being in the context of a place where all things are possible. So for me, the university was a place to explore all kinds of different experiences and subject areas, and to have guidance in that so that I could really get a sense of what I loved, what I didn't love, where I excelled, and develop parts of myself that might have needed to be developed more that weren't my strongest areas. And the university system does kind of force you to do that because there are required courses. And the required courses are kind of a broad skill set and there might be things where you're not very good at those things. So I found that it was a great way to develop parts of myself that I wouldn't necessarily be inclined to develop. I also found that there is a relationship building development piece there where you learn to interact with others, to live with others. And all of these things happen because like you're at college, that's your job at that point in your life. And you might have work. I worked during school, and I think most people should, but it's also an opportunity to learn to juggle different responsibilities and manage different projects at once. And so there is, I think in the university, it's not just the book knowledge that you're gathering, but sort of the life development, personality development, broad skill set that you're developing, and further a huge ability to think critically. So if I had just gone out, my school that I went to was a college preparatory school. So I learned a lot of this going in, so I was prepared for it when I went to college. But I think that in college, I learned how to think critically about knowledge. So it's not just like, I'm going to go out and read the entire library and now I know stuff. It's, I need to look at resources and understand what's a good resource versus what's a poor resource. What resource is something that we've, that has really been researched, that I can really trust. And I think that's something that is extremely relevant right now when we're all talking about fake news. And, learning how to evaluate a source and learning how to evaluate knowledge and say, this makes sense, this just doesn't make sense within the context of things I already know, and that kind of stuff. So I guess I feel like the university prepared me for life in a way that I might not have had otherwise. Graduate school is a whole other thing. And that prepared me. I don't know. Graduate school is a whole other thing. For me, graduate school was all about book knowledge, though. There were other pieces, but for me, going and getting my master's degree, having that knowledge in social psychology and general sociology and how people function together was really the focus of what I did. So I guess that was a different animal.
Right. So we're gonna change up the gears a little bit,
Okay.
and we're going to. I want to know a little bit about. Is it correct? Business in Blue Jeans was first, right?
The company?
Right.
Yes.
All right. So Business in Blue Jeans is the first development that's coming on. That you're really going into, and your baby, pretty much, like your very first creations. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to actually be sharing the screen with you all, the website that you can actually come and check out. But before I do that, I'm going to finish my question. But so when you're coming into the creation of Business in Blue Jeans, I would like to know, this may sound all cliche, the name, how you came up with the name, and then just kind of where were you getting this energy from to create it? Who was putting those bugs in your ear? Who were you sitting around? Who's putting this influential? Or were you by yourself? Was this something that So I would love to know that.
It's funny. A lot of the ideas that I have come in talking with colleagues and friends, and it's part of why I think it's so important to surround yourself with people who are really excelling in the ways you want to excel. The business in Blue Jeans, the core business itself, helping people start business, helping people grow businesses, that actually was alive in a completely different iteration, a completely different name, before Business in Blue Jeans was born. But I was talking to someone and she said, well, I feel like your current brand isn't really specific. It's not really clear who your audience is. And I said, well, she said, well, do you work with big corporations or who do you work with? And I said, no. I don't really want to work with all those big formal people who wear suits every day. I just want to roll up my sleeves and do the work. Like, I just want to wear jeans and do, business. And then I talked through that idea, just like I did with my friend Phil. And eventually I said, Business in Blue Jeans, that's a good name, Business in Blue Jeans. And so I sort of sat on with that for a little while and let it process and sort of think about it. And that's really how it came about. And it was really just thinking through, what I wanted to do and how to talk about it. So creating a brand is really challenging. Coming up with a name for many, many people is extremely difficult and often the most difficult piece. I have clients who have struggled and struggled and struggled. And I find that for me, the ideas come when I sort of let it simmer in the back of my head. And so when I'm like doing laundry or organizing my closet or decluttering something, it's, usually a household chore. and I just, the name will come to me sort of in a descriptor of what I do, how I do it, and who I do it for.
Right, powerful. Ladies and gentlemen, can you see my screen? Miss Susan Baroncini-Moe, can you see my screen?
I see your screen.
Sweet. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are here at the website, Business in Blue Jeans. If you want to go there, this is what you're going to need to type in to your website bar. Anyway, so we're inside here, and we're going to be doing a walkthrough of this website a little bit. And if you can, just go ahead and narrate for me a little bit about what I'm surfing here. I'm going to go ahead and click the About tab, and you can just go ahead and give me a Well, actually, we'll stay here at the home, and then we'll
Okay.
go tabs like this, and you can just give me a little run through about it.
Okay, but now I'm realizing we need to update the site a little bit.
I see. Maybe you can tell me where you want me to click. Will that be better?
Whatever you think. I mean, the site is basically the place where you can get help to start a small business, grow a small business. And so the way it's set up from a technical point of view, the way it's set up is to have kind of teasers at the top and content from the blog at the bottom, which is continuously updated as we add blog content. So there's always something on the homepage that is new and different.
And affiliated with it. Nice. So we're going to go ahead and click with the Work With Us tab. What's this tab about? How does this work? How can someone work with you?
Well, so the way that I work is primarily through coaching and consulting. So people hire me when they have, oh my gosh, I really need to update this site. I still have red hair. Oh, all right. So anyway, so people hire me to help them start businesses when they're not sure what business they want to start, when they are trying to figure out, how to launch a business that they want to launch, when they're trying to figure out the logistics of, how do I get a domain name? How do I get a website? How do I, what services should I offer, and that kinds of things. And so basically the way that I work is I schedule an initial consultation with someone, just a conversation, nothing, it's not serious. It's not, intense. It's just a conversation. It costs nothing. We sit down, we talk about the, what you're looking for and what kind of help you need. And we talk about, where you want to end up. And it's just a really casual conversation. And then, we see if it's a good fit. And if we're a good fit and you like me and I like you and I feel like I'd be able to help you, then I, send over a proposal to let you know what I would charge to help you. And if you like that, then you sign the proposal and we get started. And if you don't like it, that's okay too.
Wait, we'll click on this testimonial tab here. I'd love to see some of these testimonials here. And it's uploaded. Boom. All right, so here's some testimonies here. It says, I was fortunate to work with Susan Baroncini-Moe for a full year as I established my small business. With her guidance, I implemented systems to help me maintain forward momentum and providing accountability. Susan helped me determine how to capitalize on my strengths and minimize my weaknesses. A year later, I'm smashing my sales goals left and right and could not be more appreciative of the groundwork that went into it. Thank you, Susan. And you know what? We'll go ahead and we'll stop the screen share here, and we'll go ahead and let's just talk about that groundwork that someone has to go through. Because again, like setting up a business or your platforms or your, because again, we will touch upon these platforms. We may not go too depth with it, but if setting up your business, your platforms, these things like that groundwork is detrimental. It is something that it's almost like it's the foundation for a house. Be sturdy or is it going to be wobbly? And you have to go through a trial and error session there, I guess, if you will. Tell us a little bit about foundation building and how you helped her build her foundation, like some of the sauce in the boss.
Right. Well, and she's a great example. She's a friend who's a photographer, and we knew each other in childhood, actually. So she was a great client. There are, and I can't give you specifics about her in any way because she's a client confidentiality, but her challenges were similar to many clients' challenges. And that is when you're starting a business, there are two kinds of groundwork that you have to engage in. One is sort of the mental piece of I'm launching a business and there was a lot of scary stuff happening. And two, oh, hi, Pickerick one. Two is I'm starting a business and I have specific tasks, actual labor that need to be done. And so what are those tasks and how do those tasks get accomplished? And so the first piece is the mental piece, sort of the brain junk piece. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. Do I have the right to start a business? Will I be successful? Do I have enough money to start a business? Blah, blah, blah. That's a coaching piece. The other side is the consulting piece, which is like, you know, how do I name my business? How do I get my domain name? How do I, and this is where we talk about platform building. You know, you want your, when it comes to building a platform, you want everything to have a similar look and feel. So, and that's just a technical piece. Like, you just want your branding to be similar across the board. So when people go to your Facebook page, your YouTube profile, when they go to your website, when they go to your Twitter, your Instagram, all those things should be similar looking. There should be something that holds them and ties them together so that it doesn't look like they're all piecemeal and bit by bit. Like, you should have a logo that people can go, oh, it's this one. Okay, I'm here. So when you look at, for example, when we built the platform for twoquestions.tv, it was a lot like starting a business. I wanted to have the banner for the YouTube channel and the banner for Facebook and the...
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go ahead and share the screen again.
Great.
And I'll take you all over to the YouTube channel, actually, and I'm going to show you all the YouTube channel and the Facebook. I'm sorry for interrupting. Go ahead.
No, perfect. That's perfect. I'm so glad you're doing that. But that's exactly the kind of thing that we did, was to make sure that we had all of these branding pieces in place. And look, it's not expensive to do this, okay? I actually have no problem admitting that I had a guy on Fiverr to create my my banner for YouTube. He did the Facebook banner. He did, what else did he do for me? I think he did the podcast cover that we'll be using. We haven't launched that yet, but he did a bunch of pieces to tie all of the platforms together so that everything would sync up. And when people went to the Facebook page, they would go, oh yeah, that's the show I've been watching. And when they looked at the YouTube channel, they'd know, yes, this is the thing I found on Facebook that I wanted to watch. So that everything was kind of seamlessly tied together and easy to find.
And I'm gonna go ahead and share the screen right now. You go ahead and keep on continuing. I'll
oh yeah, great. So yeah, I think that's those are the two kinds of pieces that are relevant when you're starting a business and launching a business. You want to have those, you know, those branding pieces, those, you know, little technical details in place, but then you also want to make sure that you have that groundwork of the mental game figured out as well. So in terms of groundwork, that's really the work that I do with most of my clients with Business in Blue Jeans. Although I will say that the bulk of my work now is kind of in the new business, Baroncini-Moe Executive Coaching. I have a very, very fond place in my heart for people who are starting and launching businesses. So I make sure that I always have clients who are doing that, but most of my work is in the executive coaching space now.
Sweet, sweet, sweet. So we're on twoquestions.tv, and we're looking at some of these videos here. We're just checking in and checking them out. If there's a couple videos on your YouTube channel that you would say, hey, really come by and stop, check it out. You got a lot of views coming in on this thing here. It's packed stocked, and you can see, ladies and gentlemen, I've been watching them myself, crushing as much as I can in one day. What videos on here would you suggest for someone to come in and check out?
Oh wow. It depends on who you are, right? Like if you are a woman who wants to start a business, you cannot get a better interview than the one with Catherine Arnston, which is the first one at the top there on the left side. She's a woman who created the company called Energy Bits. And they're these little tiny, I have some over here, these little tiny discs that are algae, and they're amazing, like life-changing, seriously. I think there's a code for 20% off if you want to try them. They're amazing. I love them. But that one's a great one. I really liked my interview with Michael Welp, where we talked about inclusion and diversity in corporate culture. I think Joe Calloway's great. He talks about being the best at what matters most. Another one that's an early one was Shiv Kara, and he is sort of he's a really good general. I almost want to say he's like an all-purpose personal development guy. He is wonderful at talking about really what makes the difference between somebody who wins consistently and somebody who sort of struggles along. Brandon Adams is great. That interview was fantastic. He's a great guy. and probably also Bob Burg, because we talked about the Go-Giver in a way most people don't. So I love those are kind of my favorites. I love all my interviews, though. It's one of my favorite things that I've ever done. Those interviews.
We're gonna pop over here over to the Facebook, ladies and gentlemen. You make sure you come over here, check out this homepage. Make sure you come over here, like.
But see, it matches. That's the point. Is it the brands match up, so people know.
They do. They look so nice. I love. It really does. It does. See, look, we'll go back. Boom. See that, ladies and gentlemen, and then we'll go back to, boom. All right, now check this out. Boom. Facebook.
And it's Fiverr, you guys. It's Fiverr. It's not expensive to do this.
Make sure you come over to this page, like it, and invite some friends. Invite some friends on so they can check this page out. I'm gonna pull off of this screen share. And we're getting close to the end of this interview. We're not there yet, but we're getting around on those realms. So I kind of really want to just sit down and just talk about motivation for someone coming in. And let's just say, you know what? Before we do that, I want to talk a little bit about the book. Let's go to the book. Let's talk about the book a little bit. You wrote this all by yourself, correct?
Oh yeah.
Yes. So writing can be hard for some people, and coming up with, just doing it. What's your passion behind writing? What put the passion inside you to be able to write this book?
I have always been a writer, and I've always been a reader. Those are the two things that are the most consistent in my life since I was a tiny little girl. And so I think I always knew that I would write at least one book. I just wasn't sure what that book would be. And so I would say I was excited to write the book. I always knew I'd write a book, and I didn't get nervous or worried about it until I actually sat down after the contract was signed. Because what happens is, when you write a book that's going to be, in print format, it's going to be in libraries and on people's desks and in their bookshelves, you realize that what you're about to say is tangible. Like a blog post, I can delete that. A website, like if I post something on Facebook, they say it's always there. That's fine, but I can still delete it. And so when you're putting something in print, it's like, oh my gosh, this is real. This is actually happening. This is real. This is like tangible in book format. So that was where I got a little nervous. And so you have to be prepared for that. Be prepared that there are going to be some, mental pieces that you have to coach yourself through, or, again, work with a coach. But for me, it was an exercise in self-discipline, in preparation, and really just knowing, like, if I don't write this book, it's never going to be out there. And there's also a contract that's been signed. There's never a better thing to do to get yourself motivated to do something than to sell something or sign a contract, because once you do, you have to follow through. And so, like, that has always worked for me. Sometimes I've sold like online training programs that I have not yet developed. I have an outline for. But once you sell it, you have to do it. And so that's a great motivator. So it was I prepared for it. I kind of knew that, as I was in negotiations around the book deal, I knew that I was going to probably sign. And so I immediately began an exercise of writing, 1,000 words minimum, sometimes 10,000 words a day, whatever was in my head. And so a great way to become a great writer is to be a great reader. And so the more you read, the more, and the better quality that you read, the better a writer you'll be. I tend to write in a conversational style where I write the way that I speak, but perhaps a little more eloquent. And so I think that it's really useful to practice writing and just sort of brain dump. Just every day, just dump what's in your brain. It can be even like I have, Word documents hundreds of pages long. And some of those pages are, I can't believe I have to write today. I have nothing to say, nothing of value. I have, nothing in my head. And I just would write that because that's what was in my head. And just dumping all that's in your brain helps you get into the craft and the practice of writing. So that's kind of how I did it.
That was pretty nice there. I really like that answer. You are what you read. You pretty much like you write what you read, and as you that's mind blowing there. Now, was the title a no-brainer, or was it like, you know what I mean? Like, was it I know it, or like how coming up with that?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like I wanted to, for this particular book, I wanted to take the experience of working with me as your personal one-on-one coach and consultant, helping you start and grow a business. And I wanted to put that in a book format. There are a lot of people who can't really afford to hire a coach like me, and that's fine. So I wanted to provide a resource for people who couldn't afford to hire me or someone like me. And so this is as close as it gets. The exact homework assignments I give my clients. The only thing you don't have is me shouting in your ear going, why didn't you do your homework? And how are we going to move this forward? And so I think, you know, that was really my goal. And I thought, since that was what I was trying to emulate, it might as well be called that. The tagline was harder, because you always want to have a good tagline that draws people in, if you know, as well. And right. That's always tricky, but we got there. A little research.
Absolutely. Put a little bit of brain on that. And
a few AdWords, you know.
Yeah. I tell you what, especially with the internet nowadays, if you need anything, just YouTube it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the crazy thing. You know, people don't really realize that YouTube's really a search engine. You know, it's like yeah. But anyway, we're actually getting ready to close out. We're here close, but before we get off here, I really want to get like some kind of motivational piece that's like geared towards like someone that's just, you know, they're stuck on the couch, or they got the blues, or they feel like, you know, I don't know why I should start, or they haven't even really necessarily gone out and done yet, you know, like kind of like a harsh motivator, like kind of like that grass isn't going to cut itself kind of thing. You know what I mean? I would love to hear a spill from you that's motivating, that's going, you know what I'm saying, for that individual, for that person. It's like, I don't know, glued somewhere. I don't know. You know what I mean? Can you give me a spill, please?
Yeah. All right. Well, first of all, this is not for you, Montez, because you are already you are on it. Like you're in it. And if people are watching you, then they want to be on it too. They want to be motivated. They want to be excited. And I think, so the first part of my spiel is just watch Montez's show, because he's bringing people in to help you. And that's really the name of the game. All right. So that's the first thing. So I think that, when you're stuck, and I have been stuck, I didn't just have a linear path. It took me 6 years to get a 4-year degree. It took me 6 years to get a 2-year degree. I took my time. Okay. So the first thing I think is to know that you're not alone in being stuck. And there are lots and lots of people who are successful today who have had those stuck times in their lives. The second thing is to know that it only takes one step. You don't have to commit to, oh, I'm going to go start a multi-million-dollar company. Commit to doing one thing. One little thing, taking the first step. And maybe that first step is thinking about a business. Maybe that first step is coming up with an idea and talking to someone who is successful in that and asking for their advice. I get emails from kids in Malaysia and the Philippines asking me, because my book was published there as well. And they send me emails on Facebook asking for my advice on little businesses that they're starting. I will never turn them away. I'll always answer their questions, because how sweet is that? And if I can have a little impact on a young entrepreneur, why would I say no to that? So sometimes it's taking a step and asking for help. Sometimes it's giving help to other people. Sometimes when I've been stuck, offering my help to others has been a motivator for me as well. I think sometimes we get stuck because we think, who am I to do this? Well, I think we have that message in our heads, not because that's our birthright, but because that's what life and our environment have told us. So you weren't born to sit on your couch on your ass, all right? That's not what you're made for. We are made to be mobile, to be active, to be doing things. And so if there's any part of you that feels like you shouldn't be doing something, that's not your birthright. That's just life that has thrown a lot of junk at you and taught you that you didn't need to be doing anything. So the brain junk piece is so powerful and so important. And what I know is this: anytime in my life that I have unstuck myself for the sake of a bigger goal, and I have said, okay, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm just going to get off this couch. I'm going to do this thing. I am going to go forward. I'm going to do one thing toward this goal. Anytime I've done that, It's a funny thing how the universe works. Now, if you're religious, it's God, but if you're not, you know, it's whatever. But there's a funny thing that happens when you make a decision to make a step toward a goal and to align your path on that goal. Funny things happen. People start to show up in your path, and they somehow help you toward your goal. Or, you know, an opportunity emerges. And I don't know if it's a divine being. I don't know if it's just the funny way energy flows. And I don't know if it's just that when we're aligned and oriented toward a goal, our minds are open and see possibilities we would never see before. But a funny thing happens when you do that. Things start to go and help you, push you along. So you get taken in with the tide. So while you might start walking sort of into the ocean a little bit, the tide will pull you in further. And before you know it, you've made progress. It's like anything. With exercise, the best thing to do is say, I'm going to exercise for 15 seconds. Believe it or not, 15 seconds in, you're going to think, am I really exercising for just 15 seconds? That's really stupid. I'm going to go for like, 10 minutes or an hour, right? So it's better to just keep going. And so commit to a small goal. Commit to one step, one little thing that you can do, and know that each time you do that, there will be part of the wave that will pull you further along. So I guess that's my spiel. I don't know.
I loved it. Before we get off air, any question to the audience, any question at all? I asked this to everyone. I kind of got it from Gary Vaynerchuk. But anyway, any question before we end the show to the audience? Any question at all?
We'll answer it all. They're quiet. That's okay.
No, but what about you? Do you have a question?
Do I have questions for the audience?
Yeah, you.
Yeah. What are you doing right now? Go do your thing. Go. What? No. I guess the question I have for the audience would be like, what's stopping you? What's keeping you from doing the thing you want to do? What's holding you back?
Sweet. Ladies and gentlemen, what's holding you back? Why aren't you going out and doing whatever it is? I hope that you all have enjoyed this interview. It's been real. Like, I mean, like I know I've got a whole lot of knowledge out of it, because I just, man, it's just really mind blowing, the conversation that you in depth with it as we got. But again, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you also have enjoyed the interview. If you need anything, any questions at all, and you have them for Miss Susan Baroncini-Moe, you can actually go inside the description box. Her links are there. Her website's there. I even think I've got a video connected to add to her book there. So if you want to find out more about the book, it's also inside the description. Go to the Facebook. I've showed you on the videos. You might have to scroll back and find that. If you can't find it, I don't know what to tell you. You need to look harder. Anyway, I hope y'all have enjoyed it. I hope y'all have a great day. Miss Susan, twoquestions.tv, Baroncini-Moe, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Montez, thank you. And it has been an absolute pleasure. And I am looking forward to having you on twoquestions.tv. So everyone look out for that. It'll be so much fun.
Yeah, sweet. Ladies and gentlemen, yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to be on there myself. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Montez McCamish from itsmontez.com. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share. If you don't do that, you're not going to be able to keep up. Duh. It's Montez McCamish from itsmontez.com. Thank you so much for tuning in.